In today's video, we're diving into a topic that can impact every single one of us: how our habits shape the way people view and treat us. Using the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy, we'll explore 4 awful habits that can cause others to lose respect for you, without you even realizing it. Whether you're looking to improve your relationships, become more self-aware, or just want to level up your personal growth, this video is for you. So, if you're ready to understand how small changes in your mindset and behavior can have a massive impact, hit that subscribe button and let's get into it. Number 1. Being unreliable. Being unreliable is a trait that often goes unnoticed until its effects become undeniable. In the hustle of everyday life, it can be easy to overlook or downplay the consequences of not following through on commitments. At first, being unreliable may seem harmless, even excusable. After all, everyone has their off days, right? But over time, this tendency can accumulate, subtly eroding trust and damaging relationships, both personal and professional. Unreliability often stems from a mix of factors, such as poor time management, lack of prioritization, or an overwhelming number of responsibilities. Someone who struggles with these may unintentionally fall short of expectations. This isn't necessarily due to a lack of care or intent, but more a result of failing to effectively balance tasks or properly communicate limitations. The person may want to help, contribute, or keep their promises, but they are often caught off guard by unforeseen circumstances or distractions that pull them in different directions. On the surface, an unreliable person might appear scattered or forgetful. They might miss deadlines, show up late for meetings, or fail to deliver on promises, even though they truly intended to do so. While these things happen to everyone occasionally, a pattern of unreliability can leave others feeling frustrated, disappointed, or even betrayed. The key difference lies in how consistently these actions happen and whether the individual takes responsibility for them. If the person offers apologies without showing genuine effort to change, it can feel like a hollow gesture. People begin to feel like they can no longer count on them, and that is where the true damage begins. The ripple effects of unreliability reach far beyond the person at fault. In a professional environment, it can lead to missed opportunities, lost clients, and strained team dynamics. Colleagues may start to doubt the person's abilities, and over time, this can tarnish their reputation. Even in personal relationships, being unreliable can cause rifts. Friends and loved ones might begin to question the sincerity of the person's words, and trust, the very foundation of any relationship, can begin to erode. Repeated letdowns may even prompt others to distance themselves, assuming that disappointment will eventually become a regular part of the dynamic. One of the most difficult aspects of being unreliable is the internal conflict that often accompanies it. The person might feel guilty for failing others, but may struggle with the habits or tendencies that led to their unreliability. They may want to improve, but without a clear path to do so, the cycle continues. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that it's just the way things are, but in reality, it's a behavior that can be corrected with effort and awareness. The first step toward overcoming unreliability is acknowledging the pattern. This can be difficult, as it requires a level of self-awareness and humility that many people resist. But once this realization takes place, the process of change can begin. It's important to reassess priorities and, if necessary, delegate tasks or say no when overcommitted. Time management is key in creating the space needed to fulfill obligations, and small adjustments, such as setting reminders or breaking tasks into manageable steps, can make a significant difference. Communication also plays a huge role. If something is likely to cause a delay or a problem, it's better to inform others as soon as possible, rather than leaving them in the dark. Accountability is another crucial aspect. If someone is known for being unreliable, they must actively work to demonstrate their commitment to improvement. This might involve asking for feedback from others or regularly checking in on progress to ensure that promises are being kept. It's also vital to show consistency. Reliability is built over time, and it requires demonstrating the same level of commitment and follow-through in both small and large matters. For those on the receiving end of unreliability, it's important to strike a balance between empathy and protecting one's own time and energy. While everyone makes mistakes, patterns of unreliability can wear thin, and it's okay to set boundaries. Offering someone the opportunity to improve is kind, but continuing to make excuses for their behavior can enable the cycle to continue. Open, honest communication can help clarify expectations and let the person know that their unreliability is not going unnoticed. At the same time, it's crucial to avoid personalizing their actions. Unreliability often says more about the individual's struggles than it does about the person being let down. Ultimately, being unreliable is a habit, not a permanent state of being. With self-awareness, commitment, and the right strategies, anyone can work toward becoming more dependable and trustworthy. The journey may not be quick or easy, but the rewards are well worth the effort. Whether it's improving professional relationships, deepening personal connections, or simply developing a sense of self-respect, reliability is a key building block of a successful and fulfilling life. Number 2. Complaining excessively. Complaining excessively can often become a harmful habit, creating a cycle that feeds negativity and diminishes personal well-being. While expressing dissatisfaction is a natural human response, constantly focusing on problems rather than solutions can erode one's mental state and even affect relationships with others. The act of complaining tends to amplify negative emotions, as it draws attention to what is wrong without considering the opportunities for growth or improvement. When we complain too much, we train our minds to focus on the negative aspects of life, ignoring the positives that are just as, if not more, abundant. This can lead to a sense of helplessness and frustration, where nothing feels good enough and nothing seems to go right. One of the main reasons people complain excessively is the desire for validation. In a world where we constantly seek recognition and understanding from others, complaining can serve as a form of communication that signals distress or dissatisfaction. When someone complains, they often expect empathy or support in return. While it's natural to want to vent and receive comfort, overindulgence in this pattern can start to feel burdensome to others. Those around us may become desensitized or even resentful, leading to feelings of isolation and misunderstanding. The intention behind the complaint often matters less than the consistent habit of highlighting flaws, which can erode the sense of connection and trust with others. Another significant impact of excessive complaining is the toll it takes on one's perspective. Constantly pointing out what's wrong can skew how we perceive reality. The more time we spend focusing on problems, the less time we spend recognizing the good that surrounds us. It becomes easier to overlook small victories, pleasant moments, or the progress we've made. Our mindset shifts from one of appreciation to one of perpetual dissatisfaction. This not only creates a sense of exhaustion, but can also hinder personal growth. When complaints dominate our thoughts, it becomes difficult to recognize opportunities for change or improvement, as the problem itself consumes our mental and emotional energy. Psychologically, excessive complaining can reinforce feelings of powerlessness. Complaints often reflect a desire to change something that is out of our control, whether it's the actions of others, societal issues, or unfortunate circumstances. However, the more we dwell on things we cannot change, the more we feel as though we are at the mercy of life's unpredictability. This disempowerment leads to stress and frustration, as we find ourselves constantly battling with things that are beyond our ability to influence. Instead of finding a path to take action or change our circumstances, complaining can trap us in a cycle of inertia, where no solution feels viable and no action seems worthwhile. The health consequences of excessive complaining are also well documented. Research has shown that constantly focusing on negative emotions can elevate stress levels, which in turn can lead to various physical health issues. High levels of stress can contribute to problems like headaches, digestive issues, high blood pressure, and a weakened immune system. Complaining, especially when coupled with anxiety or anger, can cause these physiological responses that disrupt overall well-being. Instead of releasing negative energy in healthy ways, such as through exercise or creative outlets, excessive complaining allows stress to build up without resolution, making it harder to maintain both mental and physical health. Excessive complaining can also create an environment of negativity for those around us. If we are always voicing our dissatisfaction, it can create an atmosphere where others feel obligated to respond in kind or engage in similar negative behavior. This can lead to a collective sense of discouragement and disillusionment, where the focus shifts from finding solutions to simply perpetuating dissatisfaction. In workplaces, social circles, and even at home, constant complaining can foster tension and create a toxic environment. It's important to recognize that while a complaint might start as a way to seek understanding or change, when it becomes a repetitive habit, it can inadvertently poison relationships and diminish the quality of social interactions. At a deeper level, excessive complaining can reflect an inability to accept the inherent imperfection of life. There is always something that can be improved, but there is also always something to be grateful for. Life doesn't always go according to plan, and it's natural to encounter obstacles and setbacks. However, complaining excessively about these difficulties can prevent us from adapting or growing from these experiences. Acceptance of life's unpredictability and imperfections is key to developing resilience. When we stop complaining so much, we open the door to problem-solving, self-reflection, and a more positive outlook on life. It's through embracing the ups and downs of life that we find opportunities to learn, grow, and ultimately thrive. In conclusion, while it is entirely normal to express dissatisfaction from time to time, excessive complaining can quickly become a destructive habit that undermines personal happiness and damages relationships. Instead of dwelling on what is wrong, we should aim to shift our focus towards what we can control, appreciate, and improve. Complaints, when handled constructively, can lead to solutions and change, but when they become habitual, they only reinforce negativity and create emotional and psychological burdens. By finding healthier ways to express ourselves, acknowledging what's going well in our lives, and actively seeking solutions, we can break the cycle of excessive complaining and create a more fulfilling, positive experience for ourselves and those around us. Number 3. Blaming others. Blaming others is a common human behavior, one that often provides a temporary sense of relief, but ultimately hinders growth, understanding, and progress. It is the tendency to shift responsibility away from oneself and onto another person or situation, avoiding the discomfort of accountability. At its core, blaming others is a defense mechanism, a way to protect one's ego from the weight of failure or mistake. It's easier to point a finger at someone else than to confront the shortcomings within oneself, but this mindset can be toxic, both to the individual doing the blaming and to the person being blamed. In many situations, it might seem justified to blame others. For example, when something goes wrong at work or in a relationship, it can feel like the natural instinct to find someone or something to hold responsible. The reasons for such a reaction are rooted in the human desire for control. When things fall apart, we want to know why and how it happened. Assigning blame can create a sense of clarity, a semblance of order in an otherwise chaotic situation. However, this clarity is illusory. The act of blaming doesn't actually solve the problem. It simply diverts attention away from finding a real solution. When people blame others, they fail to acknowledge their own role in the situation. It's often the case that even in the worst of circumstances, there is a chain of events that leads to the outcome, and everyone involved has some level of responsibility. Blame isolates us from this reality, making us feel as if we are simply victims of external forces. This kind of thinking doesn't foster introspection or growth. It creates a barrier to self-improvement. In the workplace, for example, blaming others for a project's failure might prevent an individual from seeing how they could have contributed differently, learned new skills, or communicated more effectively. In relationships, blaming others can be equally harmful. In an argument, for example, it's easy to fall into the trap of accusing the other person of being wrong, unfair, or unloving. But when blame takes over, it closes the door to open communication. Instead of seeking mutual understanding and resolution, both parties become entrenched in their positions, defending themselves rather than collaborating. This dynamic can lead to resentment, mistrust, and even the breakdown of the relationship itself. Moreover, blaming others can lead to a dangerous cycle. Once someone starts blaming others, it becomes habitual. It reinforces the mindset that one is never at fault, that the world is against them, or that things will always go wrong because of others. Over time, this can build into a victim mentality, where everything negative that happens in life is attributed to someone else's actions. This not only harms personal development, but also affects one's ability to take proactive steps to change or improve a situation. There's also a broader societal impact when blaming others becomes widespread. In a world where every mistake or misstep is quickly blamed on someone else, it becomes difficult to build trust, collaboration, or a shared sense of responsibility. It's much easier to point fingers than it is to take collective accountability, but this approach can divide communities and prevent them from moving forward. Instead of working together to find solutions, people become more focused on assigning fault, and progress is hindered. This is particularly evident in politics, where leaders and citizens alike often blame each other for societal issues without taking any substantial action to address them. The negative effects of blaming others are not just emotional or social. They can be deeply psychological as well. When someone constantly blames others, they create an environment where self-reflection is discouraged. They may fail to see their own patterns of behavior that contribute to problems. Or worse, they may develop a sense of entitlement or superiority. This creates a distorted view of reality, where nothing is ever their fault, and everything that goes wrong is the result of someone else's choices. This can lead to stagnation in personal growth, as the individual avoids confronting uncomfortable truths about themselves. Ultimately, blaming others undermines the potential for learning from mistakes and improving oneself. Mistakes are an inevitable part of life, and they provide invaluable lessons. The key is to look inward, to examine one's own actions, decisions, and behavior, and to take responsibility where it's due. Instead of shifting the blame, an individual should ask themselves, what could I have done differently? How can I do better next time? This mindset fosters personal growth, builds resilience, and encourages a more mature, responsible approach to challenges. Taking responsibility doesn't mean accepting all the blame or guilt for every problem. It simply means being open to recognizing where we have contributed, learning from our mistakes, and doing better in the future. In conclusion, blaming others is a destructive habit that can stunt personal development, damage relationships, and harm the collective well-being of a society. While it might feel easier in the short term, it prevents us from confronting the truth, learning from our experiences, and growing as individuals. By embracing responsibility and accountability, we open the door to genuine solutions and meaningful progress. Blame is an obstacle, but personal responsibility is the key to overcoming it. Number 4. Interrupting others. Interrupting others is a common social behavior that can be both intentional and unintentional. However, regardless of the intent, interrupting can have significant impacts on communication and relationships. In many situations, interrupting is viewed negatively, as it disrupts the flow of conversation, makes the speaker feel unheard, and can create tension between individuals. Yet, in some contexts, interruptions may not be as damaging and can even serve a purpose, such as demonstrating enthusiasm or asking for clarification. Understanding the nuances of interrupting is essential to fostering more effective communication. At its core, interrupting is an act of speaking over someone else while they are still talking. This can happen in various settings, from casual conversations to formal meetings. When it occurs frequently, it can come across as rude or disrespectful. For example, in a one-on-one conversation, if one person consistently interrupts the other, it may imply that they are not valuing the speaker's words or that their own thoughts are more important. In a group setting, multiple interruptions can lead to confusion and frustration, as no one gets a chance to fully express themselves. The listener may feel disregarded, and the speaker might be left frustrated or unable to communicate their ideas fully. There are different reasons why people interrupt, and not all interruptions are motivated by disrespect. One common reason is that some individuals have a strong desire to share their thoughts, ideas, or opinions, and they may feel an urge to interject before the moment passes. They may also feel that what they have to say is of great importance, or that it will clarify or advance the conversation. In these cases, the interruption is not meant to dismiss the other person, but rather to contribute to the discussion. Unfortunately, this can still cause a breakdown in communication, as it may make the speaker feel sidelined or unheard. In some cultures, interrupting is considered more acceptable than in others. For instance, in certain Mediterranean or South American cultures, overlapping speech and interruptions may be more common in conversation. Here, interruptions are not necessarily seen as a sign of disrespect, but rather as a way of keeping the conversation lively and dynamic. However, even in these cultures, there is a fine line between active participation and interrupting too much. When interruptions become too frequent or aggressive, they can lead to tension, even if the intention is not to offend. Another reason people interrupt is that they may be trying to redirect the conversation, especially when they feel the topic has gone off track or is becoming too repetitive. For example, in a work meeting, if one person is talking in circles or dragging the conversation on without making a clear point, others may interrupt to steer the discussion in a more productive direction. While this type of interruption can be beneficial to efficiency, it can also be seen as undermining the speaker or dismissing their contribution. In these cases, the key to making a productive interruption is to do so with tact, ensuring that the interruption serves the purpose of advancing the conversation without belittling the speaker. On the other hand, unintentional interruptions often happen when someone is simply not paying attention to social cues. Some individuals may not be aware of when it is appropriate to interject or when they should wait for the speaker to finish. People who are more extroverted or have high energy levels may unintentionally interrupt because they are eager to engage in the conversation. In these cases, it is essential to build self-awareness and learn to recognize the signs that someone is still talking and needs space to finish their thoughts. Interrupting can also have psychological effects on both the interrupter and the interrupted. For the person being interrupted, it can create feelings of inadequacy or frustration, as they may feel that their thoughts are not valued or that they are being dismissed. Over time, this can lead to a lack of confidence in their ability to communicate effectively. For the interrupter, they may feel a sense of urgency or anxiety to voice their opinion, but they also risk damaging relationships or hindering the flow of communication. Both parties may end up feeling misunderstood or disconnected, which can weaken the bond between them. To improve communication and reduce unnecessary interruptions, it is important to practice active listening. Active listening involves giving the speaker your full attention, focusing on what they are saying, and responding thoughtfully once they have finished speaking. By allowing others to express their ideas completely, individuals can ensure that everyone feels heard and understood. If there is a need to interrupt, doing so politely by using phrases like, "Sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to add," or, "Can I clarify something you said?" can soften the impact and make the interruption feel less intrusive. In conclusion, interrupting others is a behavior that can have both positive and negative effects, depending on the context and the manner in which it is done. It is essential to recognize when interruptions are appropriate and to be mindful of the impact they may have on others. Practicing active listening, being aware of cultural differences, and using respectful communication strategies can help mitigate the negative consequences of interrupting. Ultimately, effective communication relies on balancing the need to speak with the need to listen, creating a space where all voices are heard and valued. To wrap up, these 4 habits, whether it's being overly reactive, neglecting personal boundaries, lacking self-awareness, or avoiding responsibility, can erode your relationships and your self-respect. But the good news is, with the wisdom of Stoic philosophy, you can actively work on changing them. By practicing mindfulness, staying true to your values, and holding yourself accountable, you can not only command respect from others but also develop a stronger sense of inner peace and confidence. Remember, it's not about perfection, but about constant growth. So, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more insights on how to live a better, more fulfilling life. Stay stoic, and I'll see you in the next video.